My name is Nick Howard, and I'm a psychologist and executive coach. I lead a leadership development firm called the Finish Well Group, and we specialize in helping Christian leaders flourish by providing coaching, training, and now I'm happy to say online classes. So my business was in a decent place. I have done fairly well with my practice over the span of time, and yet I knew that in order to get to the next level and in order to create more time and more freedom for myself, that I needed to move into the world of online training. And so that's where it was, but I didn't have expertise or experience in that space. And so I knew I needed a product, if you will. It's a complicated process. There's a lot there. And so that's where, and I know this is a testimonial, but it's still the truth. That's where it was really nice that Danny has a very logical curriculum that he's developed. I call him Danny. Danny and I go way back, right? Okay, I've never met him. But anyway, he's nonetheless created a really strong curriculum that provided me with all that I needed from the content side. And then my course building coach, Leslie, was a godsend in many, many ways. And so she provided support at critical junctures to help me finally get over the hurdle and finally launch the class. The first part is setting aside the time for it. It does take time to go through the curriculum. And then there's, the process of writing the emails. In my case, for my launch, I did a pre-launch set of emails. That was time intensive. And, along the way, that you're going to put yourself out there at some point, that you're going to introduce a product you're going to ask people to pay for. You're not sure if they're going to buy it or not. And so that's where actually Leslie was really helpful with regard to providing support at those critical junctures to help me overcome those fears and hesitancies. But also a woman named Lindsay did a stellar job with some copywriting work for me. And so Lindsay and Leslie both helped out with feedback on my email pre-launch content, and were really supportive in that front as well. As I mentioned, I've done trainings, and they're 6 to 7 month trainings that cover primary topics, which would be around coaching skills. But then I've got one around growing as a leader spiritually and emotionally. And I realized that in terms of what I've taught and what I'm most passionate about and what I felt my audience needed the most would be a course on self-care, embracing what I call godly self-care. And so as I did that, reflecting and thought about, again, what I was most passionate about and what I felt I had the most to offer, that's the course that came to mind, and it turned out really well, thankfully. It was a roller coaster ride. It genuinely was. So my launch week, the cart was open for about a week or so, and 3 people signed up on the front end early on, which was a huge relief. But then there were days where there was just crickets, if you will, and I'm going, should I teach a class if it's just for 3 people? That's going to be very little reimbursement for 7 hours and all the prep that goes into it. And like they say, a lot of the students, the clear majority of them signed up right at the tail end, and a couple even came in right after the deadline was passed. And so it was quite a ride just in the launch sequence. But gratefully, I had 19 paying students show up, so I was delighted to hear that and see that. And then the process of stepping out of my comfort zone was intense. And then though the experience of teaching, because it's a topic I'm passionate about, I've taught about it for a long time, it was really exciting to go through the class, see people grow and change, and also collected around $2,300 for the 6 different modules. And so that's also a nice boost to the work checking account. So it was a great experience. It was really positive. I used Survey Gizmo to get feedback at 2 separate occasions, 2 separate times, and it was really heartwarming to see the positive feedback. And I do have a handful of testimonials that I was able to gain as well from asking for those. And so to see, as a teacher, when you head in that space, there were times when I would have follow-up coaching calls with students, and to hear them recite the ideas that I felt would be really important, to see them capture those concepts, make them their own, and realize how it's changing their life. It's one of the coolest things. And so it was a really rich experience. So I'm going to teach us this class again a second time, and I not sure if this is another pilot or moving into the full course, but I'm going to start that up probably the latter part of February. And so I'm looking forward to doing that the second time. Well, I definitely want to reach out to more people in terms of the joint venture idea. I want to do some more research on that, including looking at what Danny said about that. Plus, I'm much more confident about how I'm going to present it to my email list, but also how I suggest that others present it to their audiences. And so I'm excited about creating a broader audience for the class, and I'm excited about fine-tuning the PowerPoints and the talks, and hopefully having it be a more powerful experience for the student. Well, I didn't have any experience before I signed up for the class and went through it. And so I would say that really it's provided me with insights about how launching an online class improves my credibility in the marketplace, how it establishes me more as a thought leader in that space, and also helps me look at how to develop my email list, but also set me up for joint ventures in the future. So it was really helpful on a number of fronts. I think it's really important to stay committed to your dream. For me, it's really interesting because part of what I do when I go through my morning routine is a ritual where I conclude with help me flourish and help me help others flourish. And so, the course was central to my vision and calling. And I realized that if I bailed on the online class, that my capacity to fulfill my vision would be severely limited, or until I did it, it would be postponed. And so to try to stay connected to your sense of calling and to pray to whomever, for the courage to persevere and put yourself out there. And then again, to be willing to draw upon support, to be willing to ask for help. To me, those were the three things that were the most important to help me get over the hump. It was really fun to do it. I remember bounding up the stairs. Even at age 52, I teach in my basement office. And so to check in with my wife and kids and say, finished my first class, it was really fun. There is pressure, and there's, the preparing your talk each week, the first go around. But again, if you have a sense that what you're going to teach will be meaningful and help improve people's lives and help you grow in your ability to express yourself or present your gifts to the world, I'd really encourage you to do it, because it's not like my life is dramatically different, but it's much richer, I would say, because this is now part of what I can do. I think maybe one thing that would be helpful to say is that when it comes to online learning, I'm kind of a sucker for these pitches. And so as I've experienced different courses and different course creators, I can confidently say that the folks at the Course Builders Laboratory, there's integrity, and they've provided more than the value, more than what the course cost. And so if part of what your question is, how much can I trust these folks, I can confidently say that, at least in my experience, you guys have been very trustworthy. And so it's, again, if you put the time in and, persevere, take the risks, my experience is that you guys have more than upheld your part of the bargain. So happy to say that.